If you're looking for a different way to think about and approach your art, this might be just what you're looking for. And as you watch me draw this day, learn about my own personal brand of habits and philosophies that have gotten me what I have today, got me through the darkest of times, have given me that extra push when I needed it, and more than I've learned from the last 30 years of being an artist. And I'm sharing this with you because I think this will help you too. Now, I gotta be honest with you, I don't always just sit down and just crap out magic. I don't always just sit down and it is just an amazing, pleasurable experience, okay? And I know you feel that way too, don't you, Fred? You probably feel the doubt, the fear, the anxiety, the dread, the depression over what you have to do, what you haven't done. Does this sound like you? And how would you like an amazing way to help you annihilate all of those concerns? Because they're always prevalent. I've been doing this professionally for years now too, and I'm just gonna tell you that that never goes away. But there's a way for you to quell it and there's a way for you to work with it. And here's my personal philosophy for it. And so I can put this especially like into the examples of my artworks, okay? There's a lot of times where I hit that roadblock or I hit that ugly face, and you probably hit that too, and you're just like, oh my God, I don't know what to do. And what used to be this amazing idea has now just evolved into this like absolute dreadnought of fear and doubt, and you're starting to question whether or not this was even a good idea, am I right? And then what do? You typically then start to invent ways to distract yourself from that thing that you used to love, all right? And what that tends to wrap yourself into is a lot of avoidance tactics. And so the way that I've kind of learned and understood this now is that you avoiding the work is also you avoiding your potential. And so my personal philosophy on this now is the work is the way. And I can really put this into so many different contexts for you just to really show and demonstrate for you how this has gone ahead and really revolutionized my life. So for example, if I'm working through an artwork and I'm hitting those rough patches, if something doesn't make sense, I know that if I continue to work on that, it will get better. If I don't like the way it's rendered, if I continue to work on that, it will get better. If I don't know what something looks like, or if I'm not sure how to produce a lighting effect, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna get some references. But again, you can't get enveloped into avoidance tactics on this one either, I've learned, because it's so easy to just go down the rabbit hole of reference collection and tutorial watching, and then you'll also tend to distract yourself by the next idea. Have you ever found this too? Like, oh, I don't like this one, next idea, I don't like this one, next idea, I don't like this one, next idea, because you're avoiding the work. I can be honest and tell you right now, like getting up an hour early on a Friday morning to record this video with y'all right now, and also taking 20 extra minutes last night in order to script this thing, probably not my favorite thing to do. However though, that leads me into another issue if I let that build and I don't do that. If you're not sure on how to build the thing, or how to start commissions, or how to start freelancing, you're not gonna know the way at first. But the work reveals the way. The more that you invest into what you're doing, the more that work is revealed. However, though, you are continuously shrouded by what you don't know, by your lack of investment into what you're doing and what you want to do. And so, my friend, I just want to encourage you right now, if you're feeling lost, if you're feeling confused, it is just to encapsulate Michelangelo's philosophy. He had always said that his vision was trapped inside the marble. So is your clarity. You have to whittle it away until it reveals itself, my friend. And that's one of my major takeaways. So how do you think you can use this too? All right, let's get uncomfortable together, because I want to now bring up the topic of how do you approach and think about and react to pain and discomfort? Or how about fear and anxiety too? How do you react to that? How does your body feel? Like, do you start to tense up? Do you even start to like squirm? And when I have a great art idea, I might have the initial thought of like, oh, I don't know if I can do that, or I don't think that I can pull this off, or this might be too ambitious, or it might be unrealistic. And we're gonna talk about that one today too. So all of that has shaped this philosophy that has really propelled me, and it's allowed me to just push through all of those concerns. And here's what I want to offer you too, my friend, is that my pain and my discomfort, when I feel them, whenever I feel any level of fear, whenever I get any level of cringe into like, oh, I don't know if I could do that, that is my compass. Fear and discomfort are my compasses. When you have an idea that seems really anxiety-ridden, when it seems stressful even, is that you're naturally going to curl up in a ball, or you're gonna wanna run away from it. But I wanna flip that on its head. What if that's your North Star? What if that's your way to actually get what you want? What if that is indeed your way out of your current circumstances? Because one thing that I found is that the more that I give into that, the more it makes it easier to continuously give into that. And the way that it will continuously make it easier for me to just be a victim of my own cowardiceness rather than what I can do and rather than be a champion of my own potential. Have you ever considered that? And I can put this in so many contexts. Like, I was afraid of starting a YouTube channel and I was like, you know what? I just need to do it. Or I don't know if I should start my freelance business. You know what? I just need to do it. Or when I started my mentorship too, I don't know. Why would anybody want to learn from me? There's all these other huge YouTubers. Why would anybody want to learn from me instead? You know what? I just need to do it. I just need to start it. I just need to take little tiny baby steps with it. And we'll talk about how to do that in a minute too. But for right now, I just want to offer you and encourage you, friend, that there are so many opportunities in your life that you have shut the door on. And I personally have felt this way too. Like, I later on look back 5 to 10 years ago and just think, man, if I had just done that, if I had just said this, if I had just done that, my life would be totally different, or I might have offered or opened up more opportunities. Have you ever felt this way too? I can best put this into the practice and scenario of like, okay, I had never had a girlfriend before I asked out my wife. And obviously that was a great decision on my part. Another thing too is when I decided to go into my doctoral program, and I thought to myself, like, why? Why would I ever want to do this? I'm going to feel stupid. I'm going to feel like I'm going to be in this room of just really brilliant people. And then there's just me, the art dude, right there. And sometimes I feel that way, but then I also kind of thought to myself, well, you know what? If I feel that way, that's probably an indication that I need to do it. And here's often why you actually feel fear and discomfort towards any type of idea, and especially your art. It's because it's your higher calling, friend. Have you ever considered that? That's actually your soul telling you, hey, knock, 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 you need to do this. This is the way. This will unlock everything that you want to get to. This will be the number one thing that you need in your life. But you are avoiding it, but you're distracting yourself from it, but you're numbing it, but you're not doing it. And so I want you to just reconsider for a second here. Your fear, your doubts, your stress, your anxiety, your depression about what you're currently feeling right now, okay? That is not there and present to hold you back. It's actually there to show you this is the edge of your comfort zone. This is what you're currently capable of. And you have infinite potential as a human being. And your way to exit doubt and anxiety is to, again, you do the work because the work reveals the way, and you use that as a North Star to get there, to exit it, and to get into what you want to do. Because if you continuously give in to every single one of your doubts, fears, your anxieties, your depressions about what you currently think you can or you can't do, then guess what's going to happen in a few years? You're going to be exactly where you are right now, feeling the exact same way and older. Do you really want that? Because this is how I was able to get out of that loop, and I offer that to you too. Now, I want to go out on a limb here and say, you're probably a busy person, aren't you? Right? Because as artists, we have a lot of things we have to juggle, and especially the older that you get, the more responsibilities you take on, am I right? You're not only an artist, you're an employee, and then you're a caretaker, you might have children, you might have other people that you're responsible for as well, you have to take care of your household, and then obviously, especially if you work full time, man, you're just like exhausted when you get home, right? And I feel the same way, okay? And after my first 2 years of teaching art, one of the things that I realized was that, like, man, this is just not enough. Like, I was so excited to get into this field, and then I just felt something was missing right there. And I realized it, and that's what birthed this philosophy right here, which is that I realized that my whole day was spent in servitude to somebody else and something else, and not to myself, and not to my life. And so then therefore, I think that a lot of us get wrapped up in what we do throughout the day and what we do to bring in an income. And then we deserve to go to bed. And you do need sleep, but my contrary philosophy is that I don't just get to go to sleep, I have to earn that. And then what I want to share with you is my philosophy that I have to earn the pillow every single night. And so what this wraps up into is that I want to make sure that I have done something each and every single day. And this doesn't have to be something monumental, but it has to be something that I've done that day to move me in the direction of where I want my life to go so that it doesn't stay exactly where it is. And let's just be honest, like, you probably know people that have literally been the same person doing the same thing, eating the same lunches for the last 20 plus years, don't you? Do you really want to be that person? Because let me just tell you, if you've never heard this, it is not enough for you as a human being to go to work, come home, and numb the crap out of yourself, and then fall asleep and wake up and do it again for the next, 50 years. Does that sound like a great life to you? Because it doesn't to me either. And so I could put this into multiple examples for you right now. I might have those days where I'm just like, you know what, I'm too tired. And I tell myself, you know what, no, because that's not gonna move me forward whatsoever. Or I might look at this in terms of like my clients. I might be like, you know what, I said I was gonna give them an update today, but I don't know, I just had a rough time today. And I say to myself, you know what, Sean, you just gotta work through it and let's see what happens. And let's do some progress towards it, okay? Let's put some time into it and then see what happens. And more often than not, bam, that client gets that update. I also take a look at this in terms of like my mentorship that I run, okay? I literally take 10 hours every single week to meet with 10 different people on 5 different days out of the week. And I do them at night. And with those, yes, I've worked all day. I've come home, I'm taking care of my family, I've done my chores around the house, and then I jump into calls for 2 hours. And then I have so many times and so many days where I'm just like, you know what, I just feel so tired. I'm not really feeling it right now. Maybe I should just cancel. I'll talk to them next week instead. Next week will be better. And then I have to ask myself, like, you know what, is that gonna make me proud? And we're gonna talk about pride because that's a really important topic for us to discuss too. I can also take a look at this in terms of just my role as a husband and father. Like, have I done anything today to make my family proud of me? Because everything that I'm doing, and I'm a sole provider here, and at the end of the day, I want to show my family that I love them and that I'm able to care for them and provide for them and give them a better life than what I was given. And so what I really wanna offer you is this humble suggestion. What if you stopped living your life in servitude to other people and started instead shifting it to living it in servitude to yourself? Because you have to do all those things and you might feel that you're exhausted, but more often than not, you're not plagued by physical exhaustion. There are many other causes on that. Have you ever considered that? So as creators, right, we have the ability to go ahead and honestly like live the life that a lot of people don't, that a lot of people are afraid to, and also invest ourselves into, I think, a lot of really rich experiences that people block themselves from. However, though, I want to just let you know that we all fall victim to some of the same exact things that every other human being on earth does. And what this kind of wraps itself into and evolved my personal philosophy into is that the worst prison you can get into is not Alcatraz, it's not Azkaban, but it's your mind. And so that's something that I've really been working at and cultivating, I would say, really seriously for the last 5 years. And it's something that I want to offer you as far as why that is probably your problem, and it's holding you back a lot more than you think you realize it. Your mind is not existing to help you progress. It's not there to build you into the best version of yourself. It's literally just there to keep you safe and alive. And usually, if you live in safety, you will die in disappointment. And so one of the things that I've come to accept is that I need to envelop myself in other perspectives, and especially better perspectives. So let me just ask you, like, are you only talking to other artists that are at your current level, who are in your current circumstance, that are only in your current area, physically, emotionally, or mentally? I want you to think about it like this, okay? Your current efforts deserve your current results. And I can think about this when I've been stuck in my art, in my business, in my YouTube journey, and so many other things, okay? And everything that I was doing at those times where I felt stuck, where I felt stagnated, it was literally because I just kept on doing the same exact things. And through being offered different perspectives, through being offered different ways to approach this, I really learned that we as artists, we need really great communities. And there's so many great places that you need to be a part of, and you need to join those spaces. If you need one, you haven't found one, let me offer you my Discord community. It's right down there in the description. Go ahead and join up. You'll love it. It's an awesome, safe place for you to join up. And if you're also enjoying this video and this is helping you out, please hit that like and subscribe button, because I'm going to be with you every single week, delivering you honest content just like this to help you out. And then also, seek advice outside of yourself. Seek advice outside of your circumstances. Seek advice outside of the people that are struggling with the things that you think mean so much to you, that have succeeded at that. Seek additional feedback. One of the big things that I've personally done and I started to do over the last few years, I started to really invest into mentorships, especially the ones from professional artists. Let me just tell you, like, that has been the best investment I've ever made. And the more that you invest into yourself, and this might not be something that you can do right now, but I want you to start to think about how can you plan to do this over the next couple years, okay? Because at the same time, if you're only gonna invest into like just vain pleasantries, like video games and TV shows and streaming services and big fancy equipment that's only meant for fun, then you're not really progressing yourself. And instead of doing that, I decided I really need to do this. So like this year, I'm a part of 3 mentorships, okay? I joined Adam Duff's, I joined Tyler Edlund's, I'm also joining a YouTube one as well. I've also gone ahead and joined mentorships in my previous years as well from professional artists like Magic the Gathering artists. Oh my God, that was the best experience. This literally saved years off of my life. And if you want that experience too, I would heavily recommend that you invest into mentors. They can be paid mentors, they can be free mentors, they can be people that you know in real life. But overall, start to invest into perspectives outside of yourself. Otherwise, you are only going to be trapped in your current circumstances, getting exactly what you currently got right now and not moving forward. Do you really want that? Because this is how I learned how you can escape that. Now, a common question that I got asked is, Sean, how do you do so much? How do you do all these things? And so if I were to really boil it down, I've been thinking about this a lot lately because I wanted to go ahead and make a video about this. And if you're interested in a whole video on this topic I'm about to talk to you about, please let me know down below in the comments. But I call this topic creative guilt. And I would say this is my #1 secret to how I get things done and how I prioritize everything in life. And so what I think about is, if I do something or I don't do something, how am I going to feel about that? So just to give you some examples, if I say that I'm going to work and progress on my artwork that day and I don't do it, how do I feel about it the next day? If I say that I'm going to give a client an update and I don't deliver on that, how will I feel about it the next day? If I say that I'm going to email somebody something really important and I don't do it, how will I feel about it the next day? And so that's where creative guilt comes into play. This also might be, let me ask you this, do you have really great ideas, but you've never done anything about it? Do you have a whole graveyard of started artworks that you've never even come close to looking at more than once? There you go. You feel a little bit of guilt about that, don't you? And so one of the things that I've kind of learned is I need to weaponize my creative guilt. And this has been, I think, a really transformative process I want to offer you too, how this can work for you. So for example, my artwork, if I'm like, you know what? I don't feel like doing this. I would feel like watching TV. I feel like watching Netflix. I feel like playing my game. I feel like going to sleep instead. I'll be like, you know what? How am I going to feel about that tomorrow? And if I feel guilt, I'll just tell myself, you know what? I don't think I want to do that. I don't want to feel that way. I want to feel proud of myself instead. So I'm just going to do it. Or hypothetically, if I say again, you know, I'll be toiling away late into the night and I'll take a look at the clock and be like, oh, I'm not done with this client update. Oh, I should just go ahead. I should message them and just tell them it's going to be tomorrow, man. And then I stop for a second and be like, you know what? How am I going to feel about that? And if I know, if I can take a look at that and say I can finish up the next hour and a half, I'm just going to stay up later. I'm just going to get it done. Because I often find that if I feel guilty about something, that guilt transfers for me the next morning. And I feel worse about it. I don't feel more energized that I did that. I don't feel more energized by giving into my vanities. I don't feel more energized by just going ahead and going to bed. Because I go to bed with guilt and I wake up with the guilt over not fulfilling my potential. Even in recording this video, I'm exhausted today too, but I'm here, I'm delivering this. I don't always feel like doing this. There are so many times where I'm like, I don't want to record this video today, but how am I gonna feel if I don't? What if somebody needs to hear this? What if this is the advice that somebody out there wishes that they heard earlier in life? And that guides me towards just doing it instead. And so let me also just spin this. If I stay up later sometimes to deliver a client an artwork, I feel great the next morning. If I don't give in to my desire to go ahead and just give in to my vanities, I feel amazing the next day because I actually made progress. And I'll realize that I wasn't actually as tired as I thought I was just avoiding the work. And if you weaponize your creative guilt, it's an amazing way for you to go ahead and actually propel yourself forward rather than hold yourself back. What do you think about that? Now, can I offer you a perspective on how to go ahead and revolutionize everything about your time management and everything about the way that you make little decisions every single day? Because one of the things that I realized is that as an artist myself, and from dealing with and helping artists literally for the last 15 years, is that artists have really brutal expectations and honestly extremely brutal and unkind timelines for themselves. And this kind of brings me back to a Tony Robbins philosophy, which is that most people will overestimate what they can do in a year and underestimate what they can do in a decade. And so what that's kind of led me to understand is that you need to really think about and consider your timeline for everything. And this can be like, what is your timeline for being an artist? What is your timeline for leaving that job that you hate? What is your timeline for you to take off on YouTube? What is your timeline for being a freelance artist? What is your timeline for preparing for it? What is your timeline for you to decide that this isn't the right thing for you, or that you are never going to get into freelance, or you're just not built the right way? You think you're not talented enough, and we'll talk about that in a minute too. And again, most people's timelines suck. They'll be like, you know what? I'm gonna give myself a month to figure out if freelancing is the right thing for me. Oh, nope, didn't work out for me. Or you'll be like, you know what? I tried being an artist for a year and I'm just not built right for it. And it's like, well, that's why. You're being unjust, you're being unkind to yourself. You're giving yourself a timeline that's way too short. And one of the things that I've kind of learned, I'm okay with a longer timeline. I'm okay with giving myself more time for things to happen. Like for example, when I started this YouTube journey, it was the same time that I started my doctoral program. And I said to myself at that time, okay, you know what? I don't know how this is gonna work out, but I'm gonna give myself the next 5 years to see how it's going to work out and if I wanna continue it. I can tell you that 4.5 years later, I am all in on this. Like, this was honestly one of the best decisions I ever made for myself, for my family, for my artwork, for my business. And so one of my major philosophies is this. I want to make sure that every decision that I'm making is a 5-year decision and not a 5-minute decision. So again, you come home from that lousy day of work. Oh, I don't want to do anything. I just want to lounge around the couch all day. Okay, how are you gonna feel about the decision in 5 years? Or, oh, you know what? I don't wanna spend so much time on my artwork this week. I just wanna play this new game. In 5 years, you might have beaten 26 different games and you might have finished 7 artworks. Which one was the better investment for you? And so this also wraps itself into your current life. Like, I'm sure that you have some circumstances. I'm sure that you have some difficulties. I have had my own share of personal traumas and circumstances that were highly unfavorable, and I've had to work myself through it. And that just brings me into this one. No matter what you've got going on in your life, are you working against your life or with your life? Because there's so many people that will be like, and it's easy, I get it. Why? I've done this too. I did this for years. Please understand me on this one. When I said to myself, I can't do this because of this, and I can't do this because I wasn't born like this, and I can't do this because I don't have access to this, and I can't do this because I don't have access to these people or this education. And all of that, it's just your excuse because it's easy, because it lets you off the hook. So instead of that, friend, what if you looked at it like this? What if you saw it again as, how do I work with my life to make those decisions? You have a lousy job, but guess what? Then you come home and now it's on you time. And you don't want to let you time be ruined by their time, do you? So what if you started to look at your time management like this, and how would that revolutionize your life too? Now, can I let you in on the most oppressive statement ever made? And let me ask you if you've heard this one too. Have you ever heard somebody tell you, you need to be realistic? Oh, that art thing, it's not realistic. That art job, not realistic. Artists don't make money. You're gonna live in a cardboard box. I don't think it's realistic in this day and age. I don't think it's realistic because of AI anymore. Does any of this sound familiar to you? Because one of the biggest things that I wanna push you towards, I'm gonna guide you out of this one right now, is I want you to oppose being realistic. I want you to oppose that philosophy altogether, because here comes the counterattack right now. I want you to just ask yourself, the person asking you that, who are they to tell you what is realistic? And here's a big question I want you to ask. The next time somebody tells you you're not being realistic, what have they done in their life to make them the authority on that? And more importantly, do you want their life? Like, just to be honest, if you're following the advice to be realistic from your parents, who are miserable at their jobs all day, and then they come home and they're slugs on the couch and they don't do anything, they're in a bad mood, why do you want their life? And maybe they had something that they were really passionate about as a child, and they gave that up to go into the safety zone. Do you want that life? Furthermore, as a creative here, let me ask you, is that person actually an artist? Are they living the art life that you wish and dream that you had right now? Because if they are not living the life that you desire and you want, they are somebody that you should not listen to. What they're really speaking from right there is the fact that, not that it is unrealistic for you to do this or achieve that or to chase that, but because in their mind, they're not thinking about you, they're thinking about themselves, and they're telling themselves, I can't do that, and therefore I don't think it's possible for it because I'm unfamiliar with it. And they're telling that to you. And then oftentimes too, just to be honest, especially if this is somebody who's like toxically telling you this, they are actually somebody who's given up on their dreams. They're somebody who fell into the safety net of what they could have done instead. And they don't like it because your ambition shines a light on their demons and on their insecurities, and then they project that onto you. And that's not fair, is it? And so the way I want you to think about everything though, instead, is this. Is it manageable? And I want you to hear the difference between those two words, because being realistic and being manageable are wholly different philosophies. If you think about being realistic, you're talking about a limit on yourself. If you're talking about manageable, whoa, guess what? You are accountable and it's possible. Because I don't look at things in terms of, is this realistic or not? I look at things as far as, how do I do this? How can I make that happen? And listen, this doesn't only have to be on like Dark Souls hard mode. This is a matter of, how can I do this? How can I add this? How can I also add to this? But how do I make it easier? Because through doing it, everything will always be hard at first. But then once you are in the trenches, you can ask yourself this question. How do I do this, but how do I make it easier? And I've done this in terms of my artwork, in terms of my processes, even in terms of my videos. Like, I hate editing videos. I absolutely hate it. So I'm constantly thinking to myself, how do I make it easier for me to edit a video? And so nowadays I think about this in terms of my scripting, in terms of how I'm recording my videos, in terms of how I'm delivering this too. I think big time about, how do I make my life easier? Not how do I make my life harder? Because I want it to be manageable. Have you ever considered that? And to be honest with you, they're just somebody that's telling you when they say that statement that they don't believe in you. Have you ever considered that? Now, if you're no stranger to my channel, you'll know my thoughts on talent. This is literally the topic of my dissertation, and it's something that I've literally read dozens of books over. I've read hundreds of articles about this topic. And so one of the philosophies that I've lived by is the fact that nobody cares about talent. And especially as an art educator, I can't believe that. I can't subscribe to that philosophy. And so this kind of brings up this topic of, why do we mythologize this concept of talent when it doesn't exist and there's no actual way to prove it? There are no reliable metrics for this. There's no way to test for it. There's no way to assess it. Why do we make this such a big deal? Why do we put so much emotional investment into this topic? And it's easy. It's your easiest way out. It's the easiest way to say, well, I can't do this, I can't do that, I'm not good enough for this, I should give up right now, because it is your easiest way out. Have you ever considered that? Because it's so easy to just look at yourself and say, well, you know what? I'm just not built right. I shouldn't be an artist. Oh, well, I don't think I can do it, so then therefore I can't. Not because talent actually exists or because you're right in thinking about that. It's just that the story that you tell yourself is perpetuated and you repeat that to yourself, and then that becomes your reality. You see how that works? And so if you ask me, well, Sean, if this is actually achievable, how do you actually achieve the perception of being talented? Let me tell you how you build that, okay? Because this is what my research has gifted me and I want to share with you. If you want to see a whole video on this topic, please let me know, because I can happily stretch this one out and be way more elaborate on it. But here we go. If I followed you around for an entire week, would I see that you're dedicated to your goals? Would I see that you're being intentional with your time? This goes in your practice too. Are you actually doing things that move the needle, that progress you, that actually make you an artist that you want? Also, what's your learning objective like? What are you pushing yourself to know how to do? What are you pushing yourself to achieve? People that have this perception of being talented, they're actually just continuous learners. They're always looking for something new. Myself personally, every single artwork that I do, I have very specific goals and objectives that I want to achieve. I have specific things that I want to learn on and progress and how to get better with in every single artwork. And that's what you need to do too if you want to be that level of an artist. What I tend to notice is that artists that appear as talented, actually what they're doing is they're approaching everything with a beginner's mindset. They have the mindset of a sponge. Also, what I tend to notice is that artists in this ballpark have not limiting access to resources, but they really focus on how to get the best resources that they have available at this time. Like, you're watching me on YouTube right now. You can learn so much on this. Also, we can't negate the importance of prioritizing art, because let me just ask you, is this a hobby for you or is this a passion for you? And personify it like it's a human being. Imagine if you had a partner that you're romantically interested in. What if you only called them twice a week? Do you think that that relationship would last? Because if that's how you're treating your artwork, maybe that's why you don't have a good relationship with your artwork or with your art success. Also, really powerful, accomplished artists, they focus on action. They focus on doing things. They don't focus on the research, the thinking about, the mulling over, the considerations, the getting different perspectives. No, they focus on the action. Action first, and then consideration and redirection afterwards. And then finally, these artists are focused on processes over products. Myself personally, I definitely have a whole lot of moments I don't love my process. I'm not enthused about it. But you also can't be attached to the fact that you should only be proud at the end. I have so many artists I speak to all the time that they're like, I just don't like my artwork, and then that makes me unenthused throughout the process. That's your crutch, that's your issue. is that if you're only focused on being proud at the end of it, you're never opening yourself up to being proud of yourself through it and what you're learning about it. And even if it doesn't hit your target, even if it doesn't achieve your vision, that's normal. How's that sound? Have you ever considered that? Now, one of the most important relationships that I think that you'll ever have as an artist is definitely with yourself, with your thoughts, with your feelings. And one of the things that I kind of realized, and this kind of wraps itself into one of my biggest and most important philosophies, is that I think that you need to be your own best friend, and you're probably the suckiest friend in the world to yourself. And have you ever considered that? Have you ever really sat down and thought about the way that you speak to yourself, the way that you talk about your art? Because there's so many artists, and I hear this from artists literally of all ages, of all ability levels, who will sit there and just annihilate themselves, who will sit there and just tear themselves down. Oh, I suck, and this is terrible, and I'm absolute trash. I have no potential. And so if that's the way you're talking to yourself, let me just kind of revolutionize your thought process and ask you to consider this. Imagine that you had a younger sister or a younger brother, somebody just is a really young child, and you brought them in. And what if you said everything you said to yourself to that child? How would you feel about that? Your number one thing that you need to do is make sure that you are building confidence in yourself, and not just confidence, but the number one resource you need, friend, isn't confidence or motivation, it's trust. And so I put this into a lot of different versions of what I do right now and how I've been able to get what I have right now. And so just for example, right? If I say to myself, I'm gonna work on my artwork tonight, and I don't, I destroy trust in myself. I don't think I can do it. It makes it easier for me to not do it every preceding day, week, month, and year after that. If I say I'm gonna work with these clients and I'm gonna deliver the artwork, and I don't actually deliver the artwork, I never finish it because I feel bad and I start to talk poorly to myself, and I stop looking for how to do this better, and I'll give you some strategies on how to do it better today too. I destroy trust in myself. If I have the idea, man, I can't wait to start this comic, or if I put this into my YouTube practice, if I say, I'm gonna record a video today, oh, but I don't feel like it, I'm not gonna do it. This isn't right, this isn't a good time, this isn't a good mood, I'm not in the right mood for it, I don't feel like it, and I don't do it, you destroy trust in yourself. And through that continuous self-abuse cycle that you initiate and you perpetuate in yourself, you erode trust. And you're gonna say to yourself, oh, I just don't have the confidence. And you know what? You're half right. But the reason why you don't is because you're looking for confidence before action. What studies have actually shown is that a premeditator for any type of confidence is action. And the same thing goes, by the way, for motivation. You're gonna think, oh, I need motivation to go ahead and start this and do that and complete this. No, you don't. Because motivation, my friend, is the drink of dabblers and quitters. But consistency is proof of your effort. Consistency and action are the ways that you are building pride in yourself. And everything that I do in my lifetime, I have just realized this importance. I want to be proud of myself. I want to be proud of my artwork. I want to be proud of my development. Even if I don't achieve everything that I want, I want to be proud of my efforts. I want to be proud of not my results, and I'm going to warn you about that today big time. I want to be proud of myself trying. All too often, we're told that our results matter more than anything. Your results are a measurement, are an indicator of what you're doing, but it's not everything. There's a way for you to go and do this easier, and I'll talk to you about that today too. But the number one thing that I want to encourage you to ask yourself is, are you building trust with yourself to build pride in yourself? Or are you watching it all crumble away by giving into decisions and philosophies that actually don't serve you? What's it for you? Because for me, if I can't look at every decision and say, will I be proud of that? Then it's a no for me. And it should be that simple. Another major thing that I kind of realized, especially as I was going through my art journey, is that I tend to notice so many artists, and not just artists, but people, we're very attached to ourselves. We're very attached to what we're doing, how we're thinking, how our life is right now, our circumstances, and we're attached to so many things. And then you might have even heard the phrase before that in order to create your new self, you have to kill your old self. And then a lot of people really, really reject this philosophy, not because it's harmful to you, but because of your attachment philosophy. Have you ever really thought about that one? And so one of the things that I learned is that there are 10 major things that I had to give up in order to be where I am right now, in order to not only do that, but just survive as an artist. And to tell you about that, go ahead and watch this video right here where I'll tell you all about it. Thanks so much for watching. If this helped you, please share it with somebody that you know. Thanks so much and see you next time.